Many people dream about being their own boss, but starting a business can be an intimidating process. We're here this morning with attorney Matt Hewitt from Garske to talk about the legal steps of turning your dream into a reality. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you being here. So if someone is interested in starting a business, what are some of the first steps that they need to take?
Well, the first step that they need to take is they need to consider what format they're going to use. There's different types out there. You can be a sole proprietor, you can be a limited liability company, you can be a corporation. And so sometimes just understanding what the different types are is the first step.
Okay, so can they just file their business name with the county or state, just call it a day?
In the old days, that was what we used to do often. What we would do is you go down to the county and you would file what was called a doing business or assumed name. It was cost about $10 or something. The problem was that gave you no limitations of liability. So what ends up happening is if the business goes bad, the debts could come across and you could perhaps lose your own home or your retirements, and it could affect you. So with the advent of corporations and limited liability companies, it gives the small business owner the same protections that big companies have, liability limitation.
So you mentioned these couple words. What is the difference between a limited liability company, an LLC, and a corporation?
One of my favorite questions when I talk to new business owners. And there is a difference. And I use an analogy. And the analogy is kind of like we talk about pets. And so when you say, I have a pet and I love my pet, that's great. But you might have a cat or you might have a dog. But you don't have a dog cat and you don't have a cat dog, right? And so a limited liability company is one thing and a corporation is something different. And we hear people sometimes confuse limited liability corporations. Those don't exist. The difference is limited liability companies were created specifically to make operating a small business easier. So they are different than corporations. Corporations are usually geared more towards bigger entities, more complex, if you're going to go onto the stock market, things like that. So they have a much more complex set of rules. Limited liability companies have a much easier, streamlined process. So a lot of small businesses use them. But unfortunately, sometimes corporation's a better choice, and you don't know which one's going to be better for you until you talk to an attorney.
All right, that's always a good step too. So does it make a difference which one that you use for your business?
I think that it does. The limited liability company is probably the preferred choice right now. You'll see a lot of people using them, and it's because they have ease of use. They've taken a lot of the formalities out of operating the business from a day-to-day point of view. So I think that limited liability companies are probably the better choice.
All right, that's some good advice. So what if you decide you do want to be an LLC? Can you still file taxes as an S corporation?
You can, and unfortunately, sometimes people say, I can't be a limited liability company because I want to be able to pass my taxes through. I want to have the pass-through election. Believe it or not, limited liability companies do have the ability to take the S election, which is to allow you to take the income and report it on your personal tax return. It eliminates what's called double taxation that corporations, a lot of big corporations deal with. So you still get all of the benefits, all of the pros of having this and the liability limitations without the hassle of being a big corporation.
All right, some fantastic tips. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, and good luck to all those new business starters out there. Well, if you want more information about today's topic, just check out the hot link section on WNAM.com.